Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to the Locked On MLB Locked On Diamondbacks crossover. It must be Monday with Millard and Sully. Hey, this show is being dropped on the 30th day of May, 2022, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your co-host, Paul Francis Sullivan. If you're watching me on the YouTubes, you can please call me Sully. Hey, who's that right over there? We're sitting right over there.
Hey, it's me, Millard Thomas. Follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or look up Locked On Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle.
And you can follow all of the Locked On MLB podcasts on whatever podcaster catcher. I'm not even going to edit that out. Any podcast catcher of your choice. Hey, it is Happy Memorial Day, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Happy Memorial Day. This is a day off for most of us. Day off for your pal Sully.
Me too, baby.
That's right. We're approaching the end of May, the beginning of June. We're going to be talking in one of the upcoming segments about my concept of the summer score and also why I believe this is the first checkpoint of the season. The first point you can really take a step back and say, here's what our team is. Here's what we need to do. Are we contenders? Are we not? What do we have to do to pretend to be a contender? And what can we do to not mess up what we've started? You know, you can actually, there people say you can't win the division in April or May. Actually, you can. If you get off to such a great start and then play like 500 ball the rest of the way, the Cincinnati Reds in 1990 started the season on an unbelievable tear. And from about the end of June on, they played roughly 500 ball, but they cruised to the division title and ultimately the World Series title because of that great start. You can have a tremendous start and give you that buffer if things go south. That should make you feel pretty good, Yankee fans. But you also can turn things around. There have been several teams that have had losing records at Memorial Day. Like, let me just take two at random. The 2019 Washington Nationals and the 2021 Atlanta Braves. Wow. The last two times we had 162 game seasons, the teams that went on to win the World Series had losing records around this time. So do not despair. You can still schedule a parade. But Millard Thomas is here. You're always here on Monday. Glad to see you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too. We had a traditional Memorial Day cookout where we had lots of Built bars.
Oh, yeah. They got the new granola bars, too. The new Built granola.
As a family, we logged on to BetOnline. I made sure everyone had something for Blue Nile. Yeah, it was a wonderful time. And then I looked for a job on LinkedIn. We had the kind of locked on traditional Memorial Day that you would hope for.
Fixed my car on the way to the cookout, too, at Rock Auto.
Oh, you got to go to Rock Auto. You know, they got all the parts you'll ever need. But I got to say, I love Ken Burns' baseball. I watch it all the time during the off season. And I know probably in maybe a decade or so, he's probably going to add a new segment to it. And you think about like the great moments in baseball history.
Oh, yeah.
The moments like those milestones. Some of them are glorious milestones. You know, the arrival of Babe Ruth and the Jackie Robinson breaking the color line. Some of them are heartbreaking milestones, like the fans of Brooklyn getting their hearts ripped out, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom style, when the Dodgers left for Brooklyn. Or then you had the strike in both 81 and 94. But then you had Cal Ripken getting everyone, the rise of Cal Ripken in 95, the Red Sox-Yankees great rivalry, the Cubs winning the World Series. And then the death of people like Lou Gehrig and Clemente and Thurman Munson. These are like the milestone moments when you think about baseball history. These are the ones you want to have Bob Costas narrating and having the talking head people saying where they were and what they were doing. And we just had one of those great moments in baseball history when Tommy Pham slapped Joc Pederson over a fantasy football argument from 2020. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, the stupidest story of the year. We've reached peak stupid.
Just fantastic stuff from baseball this weekend. I mean, when did 2022 become the year of the slap? We already know about Will Smith, the whole debacle at the Oscars, and now you got baseball doing the same thing. And for the first time in a while, we got a national story surrounding baseball that's got everyone talking. This is the first story since what? The Houston Astros scandal, where everyone in the sports world is talking about it. I mean, Adam Schefter is tweeting and writing stories about this Tommy Pham and Joc Pederson slap. And the most interesting thing to me about this is the comments by Tommy Pham, because he's talking about how Pederson was messing with his money. He's like, I'm a big dog down in Vegas at the casinos. And it makes me wonder, does Tommy Pham, is he like dealing with loan sharks or something? Did he need this money because he thought his legs were going to get broken or something? His knees were going to be capped? I'm concerned for Tommy Pham and his safety, honestly.
First of all, here's what I wish happened. I wish that this happened at a Braves and Dodgers game when it was Will Smith slapping Will Smith. Just so we can we have Will Smiths slapping each other and just all over the place. But yeah, I read, I first totally ignored this story. This seems stupid. But it became that thing that was like, it wouldn't go away. It just kept getting weirder and dumber. And Tommy Pham makes $6 million a year. Now, I understand after taxes and after fees, it's not $6 million of take-home pay. $6 million used to buy you an entire bionic man in the 1970s. Maybe not so much these days. But the fact of the matter is, he's probably bringing home a salary no matter what, even after agent fees and everything. There's 2 commas in his available balance, okay? He's over $1 million tomatoes. If you go to his Wells Fargo account and they say available balance, it's in the millions at this point. I should hope so. So, the idea of playing I don't understand the stakes at fantasy football at this point. I'm not a fantasy player. I played fantasy a few times in the early 2000s. Then I became a father, and I realized, you know what? I spend a lot of time following baseball. I can't also follow a fantasy team. And so something had to give. And I know people take their fantasy sports seriously. That's another reason why I left. Because it was also like, guys, this is supposed to be fun. I'm not having fun anymore. Bye. But how much was on the line in this fantasy football game that it merited 2 years later a slap over, if I'm not mistaken, trash talking with an animated jib jab gif or something like that? Wasn't that? It was a thing like there's a picture of like the Giants and the Dodgers like weightlifting, and then the Padres falling on their face, and something I don't even know.
It seems threefold the reason. It seems first it was a money problem because Tommy Pham said he was messing with money. 2, it seemed like Joc Pederson was disrespecting the Padres in the comments. And then number 3, which keeps slipping out of my mind for some reason. But there was 3 parts. I'll get back to that third one in a second. But Tommy Pham has made $28 million in his career. So it's not like this guy is struggling for money, really. And I'm someone who's addicted to fantasy football. I'm in like 5 to 7 leagues every offseason. Like I'm already doing mock drafts. Football doesn't start till September. I'm literally doing mock drafts right now for fantasy football. That's how addicted I am. And so it definitely gets personal sometimes, but I'm never going to slap someone over a fantasy football player. It should never get that serious. So I don't know what was said. I don't know. Well, I don't like trash talking is part of fantasy football. You do that in your group chat, so I don't know why he took it so personally.
Okay. Now, look I trash talk. The last time I really did fantasy baseball was in the wake of the 2004 World Series, and there was a couple people in my fantasy league who were big Yankee fans, and the Red Sox. I don't know if you know what happened in 2004 in the World Series there, but it was not a good time to be a Yankee fan. And I would needle the Yankee fans about that. And they would still write 1918 at me. And I said, buddy, who's your paper boy? You may want to check the news. That's over. And like I would say, up 3-0. Said, now list all the teams that have blown a 3-0 lead in a 7-game series in baseball. One still to this day. And that guy started writing me privately, and at one point tried to blame September 11th on Red Sox fans.
Whoa, okay, that's just deep. That's just dark and
He
too far.
said, they came from Boston, right? They were Red Sox fans. I said, you know what? I don't know much about Al Qaeda.
Now, I don't know much about their philosophies.
Not a lot of guys named Fitzy and Murph from Randolph, Massachusetts. Anyway, that's when I said I should leave. I
Yeah,
should
yeah.
leave.
That's
Time for me
probably
to
the
go.
that's probably the smart decision.
Yeah, that's not good trash talking. But I do find it funny that athletes are involved in these games now, and that they will trash talk each other's teams, but slapping, no. But there is something else here. There is something else. You know who usually doesn't scream that they're big players in Vegas?
Big players in Vegas.
Exactly.
Mm. Usually,
It's like
usually the people who scream they're big players in Vegas are the people who are down a lot of money in Vegas.
It's like Warren Buffett doesn't drive around in a limo saying, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. He's just rich, and I'm not, and like the people who are the big players there don't walk around talking about how they're a big player. They probably just come in there, they get their hotel comped, and they do their playing there, which makes me think that this story's not going to go away for two reasons. First of all, baseball has gotten into bed with gambling, and it will inevitably turn into a Pete Rose think piece.
Mm-hmm.
And my stance on Pete Rose remains the same. He's not in the Hall of Fame because he chooses not to be. Because the minute he goes into the Hall of Fame, he no longer is relevant and no longer part of a debate and no longer in the news. And the next time he's in the news will be his obituary. So he knows the more he stays, the more money he can make outside of the Hall of Fame playing a martyr, because he's been given lifeline after lifeline after raft after raft, and he has turned them all away because of that. So please, please, please spare me any Pete Rose a victim commentary on this. But baseball has jumped into bed with
Everyone,
with gambling.
Mm-hmm.
With we've had to read some ad reads from some of these companies, and they've read with the what's the name of the big fantasy? Like, there's a big gambling fantasy sports thing there, which I like. Oh God, what was it? It was everywhere for a while, and
that we were doing the ad.
Yeah, we were doing. It just shows you how much
player stock.
It shows you how much I pay attention to these ad reads. They all come from my heart, but DraftKings, thank you, DraftKings.
Oh,
they
that
got
one?
in bed with DraftKings, and and like wanted to put a team in Las Vegas and everything like that. And I have a feeling, and I'm not going to sing that because I don't want to get us into any copyright issues with the Beatles, but I've got a feeling there's something more to this, and it may have something to do with how much money Tommy Pham owns. I have a feeling that that $6 million he got from Cincinnati or whatever it is, I bet a lot of that's gone.
No,
people don't. When he says you're messing with my money, he said you're a millionaire. How much money are you spending on fantasy football?
If you have to slap someone pre-game over money, it sounds like you got an issue on your hands. And before I forget, the third part of the reason why he might have slapped him from my earlier discussion 10 minutes ago is because he thinks Joc Pederson might have cheated in the fantasy football league. Apparently, he tried to put someone on the injured reserve, and then he picked up a free agent the same day. I don't know what was his issue with Tommy Pham or Tommy Pham's issue with Joc Pederson, but Joc Pederson pulled up to that post-game press conference with receipts on his phone. So that I just love this whole back and forth between these two. It's been really fun, and I'm just glad that baseball is back in the national spotlight, and we're talking about something because this is what baseball needs. We were talking last week about how can you better market the stars and the exposure for the game. Well, one thing you need freaking drama, Sully. Baseball, a lot of time we just talk about who's the best teams, and we just talk about stats and numbers, and just very black or white when we talk about baseball. For once, we got some drama, and we could talk about the gray lines and society and morality.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing I love about it. And it is, and again, boy, H-Town and Eric, you may want to turn off the podcast here right now, and everyone from Astros Twitterverse. It's what I loved about the Astros banging the trash can scandal. And yes, the Altuve having a buzzer on him allegations, which nobody can dismiss based upon the trash can scandal. Here's what I loved about the trash can scandal. What I love about this. It's a dumb, harmless controversy. It doesn't have to do with drugs. Doesn't have to do with abuse. Doesn't have to do with race or racial taunts. Doesn't have to do with anything illegal or anything that's violent. It has to do with one was banging an effing trash can, and the other is you put a linebacker on the IL when he wasn't on the IL, and you're cheating 2 years ago in fantasy football. Joc Pederson has won 2 World Series rings since then.
Wow.
For him, not his fantasy league, actual World Series rings. Maybe Tommy Pham should be more thinking about that. But I love a dumb, fun controversy where in the end, yes, is it maybe Tommy Pham's cheek needed to be sacrificed? Palo Alto's own Joc Pederson's, Joc Pederson's cheek needed to be sacrificed by Tommy Hand's slap. So we can have
Tommy
something.
Hand.
Tommy Hand! God, I wish it was one of the Will Smiths. I know I've already made that joke, but I really wish it was one of the Will Smiths. We have 2 Will Smiths in the league. One of them going to do the slap. But, I love how dumb this is. I love dumb. In fact, that's going to be the title of this show. I love dumb.
Oh, okay.
I love dumb. And this is just dumb. And it's so much fun. And dumb fun is part of it.
Now, were you surprised by the 3 games, though? Did you feel like that was egregious?
Jeff Carr, you may want to turn away your ears for this.
No one's listening to this podcast.
Not having Tommy Pham on the lineup is not really going to turn the pennant race around for the Cincinnati Reds at this point. In fact, I believe the Reds won the 3 games that they did have with Tommy Pham. So maybe the Reds should put him on the pine a little more often.
Yeah, who knows? That fantasy football pot might have been bigger than like the playoff bonus. So maybe the fantasy football ring is more important than the World Series ring, Sully.
I don't know. I love things that are dumb. This is as dumb as it gets. And, I'll tell you something, though. It gives me the strength to move on and keep doing the podcast here. But I wish I had something else to give that I could ingest to give me strength to move forward. Hey, Millard Thomas.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas of something I can do to ingest some good old-fashioned energy and nutrition?
Oh, yes, because Sully, every day I wake up and I start my morning with this thing called Athletic Greens because it
Tell me more.
It gives me the boost I need to start my day. So what is this stuff? So with 1 delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. So why do I love AG1? Well, it's lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, it does not matter. It covers every lifestyle. It costs you less than $3 a day. That is nothing. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews, so you know it's reputable. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
So that's $3 a day for Athletic Green.
Less than $3 a day.
So inexpensive, even Tommy Pham can afford it.
Whew.
I'm going there.
Had to get that one in.
And thank you for making Locked On MLB your first listen. Your second listen, make that be Locked On Diamondbacks. For your listen after that, check out the Locked On Now podcast, recaps of Major League Baseball games with analysis from our local experts, taking fans through the season like no other network, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we're done talking about that. That is absolutely insane. Hey, do you know what team? Your team has been staking its claim and has been showing that they're going to be a team worth looking at. That would be the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh.
And the Cardinals are creepy. They played well against Milwaukee over the weekend. There was a player who I had not heard of before because he's brand spanking new, but his name is Nolan Gorman.
Yep.
One of the big prospects they had in their system. Some of these teams are bringing up their players, and Nolan Gorman had a huge game over the weekend where he got 4 hits, including a home run in St. Louis's 8-3 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers. And these are critical games for the St. Louis Cardinals. I know it's tough to say, it's so early in the season. These head-to-head matchups are important, especially if you're a team like St. Louis that wants to be a playoff team, would rather win the division. You got to win these head-to-head games against Milwaukee because the rest of the division stinks. The Cubs stink. The Reds stink. The Pirates stink. Did I miss anyone? Yeah, that's 5. Boom. You got 3 tomato cans in your division. So this is really Milwaukee versus St. Louis. So every time that those two teams match up, that's like winning 2 games. That just helps you along the way. And adding some of these young players to the squad, we're a team that's already has a lot of talent on their team. That's not a bad thing. By the way, Tommy Pham was once a Cardinals prospect, and they traded him away. But let's. I feel badly because I keep bringing this up every time we talk. But guess what? He's having an unbelievable season. Goldschmidt has in the last 7 days an OPS over 150 in his last year. Going back to last year, his last 365 games, he's slashing 328 with an on-base percentage with 401, a 538 slugging. That's an OPS of 987 over the last 153 games he's played, throwing 35 home runs, 112 ribbies. He strikes out a lot, but so does everybody. Man, that Goldschmidt, he's why can't the Diamondbacks get players like Paul Goldschmidt?
He's a good player, and just talking about him just makes me so exasperated, Sully. I mean, this man right now, he looks like he's going to be top 2 in MVP voting with the way he's playing right now. Has to be. And really the sad thing is, it's not just the fact that Goldschmidt is balling out. It's more of a D-backs fan when you think of the return you got back for Goldschmidt and how they're performing right now. They're not on the field. Luke Weaver this past weekend was just transferred to the 60-day injured list. It looks like it's going to be another lost season for Luke Weaver, who after that first season in 2019 had just been downright bad. He's had high ERAs. He's become like a 2-pitch guy. Opposing batters seem to be really locked in on whatever Luke Weaver throws. At one point, he started this season in the rotation, and by the second start, the D-backs moved him to the bullpen. And this was the guy who was supposed to be maybe a number 2 starter in your rotation. Now it's like, could he maybe be a high leverage reliever? So there's huge question marks about Luke Weaver. And then Carson Kelly was the other guy in that deal. And I still like Carson Kelly a lot, but he's been on the injured list for 3 weeks now. He started the season horrendously, so hopefully he can come back and bounce back. But you look at the 2 major pieces the D-backs got back in that Goldschmidt deal. Luke Weaver looks like he's never going to materialize into the ceiling we thought he had. And Carson Kelly, I think, can still be one of the better offensive catchers in baseball, but he still doesn't seem like he's going to be a star player. So this is why when I talk about you need to do everything you can to keep your star players, this is why, because even when you get back top prospects, potential blue chippers back from another team's organization, they don't always materialize, and more times than not, they don't. If you just look at the history, the last 10, 20 years of superstar trades, most of the time, the team that trades away the superstar ends up losing that deal. And I think it's fair to say the D-backs ended up losing that deal when they traded away Paul Goldschmidt.
I'm not, as you know, I'm not a slave to war, but I'm just going to look at it for this particular reason. The top 5, and they're all bunched together. It's too early in the season to have like someone pulling away. But the top 5 in WAR in the National League, and that they're all within less than 1 WAR between each other, are Manny Machado, Edman, the second baseman at St. Louis. I suppose he's up there because he's great defensively. Mookie Betts, Nolan Aronado, and Paul Goldschmidt. Now, what do Manny Machado, Mookie Betts, Nolan Arenado, and Paul Goldschmidt all have in common? What do those 4 players all have in common?
They were traded.
They were traded. by the
Mhm.
teams for the big blockbuster deal. Now the only player, the Red Sox got Alex Verdugo in the Mookie Betts trade,
Mhm.
and while he's no Mookie Betts, Verdugo has been at least a
He's good.
starter. Yeah, he's a major leaguer.
Yeah, he's a
Okay.
major leaguer.
Nobody from that Machado trade is on the field right now.
No.
The big Rusney Diaz was supposed to be the big star from that trade. He and I are tied with major league appearances. Okay. Nolan Aronado and Paul Goldschmidt. Aronado was, of course, dumped by Colorado.
Mhm.
Goldschmidt was dumped by St. Louis. The
They would
returns
redo those trades if they could.
in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. And, you look at this, and the lesson you get when you see the team say, screw it, we're just going to sign our superstar to a long-term deal. So seldom does a player develop into a superstar that when you get one, you're not going to get the return back, partly because front offices are too smart at this point. They're not going to, the trades that used to happen. Like I remember at one point, there was a trade where the Houston Astros had a slugger named Glenn Davis in the late 80s, early 90s. He was like their only slugger they had. And they traded him to Baltimore. And people go, man, the Orioles, he's in a hitter's ballpark now. And the Orioles surrendered Steve Finley, who had a very long, productive career, made the All-Star team a couple of times. Pete Harnisch, who's another talented pitcher, became an All-Star. And, oh, yeah, Kurt Schilling, who became a borderline Hall of Famer, if not necessarily someone you want to give a toast at your wedding. And the days of a team getting 3 All-Stars back for one player are done. Because teams are too smart. Teams hold on to their young players too much. They value them too much. So if you're going to trade a superstar and you're going to, now look at the general manager of the Diamondbacks should slap the general manager of the Cardinals because he should be madder than Tommy Pham.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and at the time of the deal, I liked the trade for the D-backs because when I look at because there's a couple of different philosophies you can have when trading a superstar player. You could go for those really young potential blue chipper prospects, or you could try to go for the more major league ready guys who might have already played on the major league level but haven't reached their ceiling yet, or at least right there making it to the major league level. And that's what the D-backs did. They kind of went with that latter route by going Carson Kelly and Luke Weaver, 2 guys who are already on the major league level before they traded for them. And I think I like that philosophy better. I'd rather go with guys I've already seen on the major league level who are young and were top prospects and go with the guys who are just complete unknowns who we've never seen on major league level, who we've never seen flash or make adjustments. So I did like the trade that the Mike Hazens make. I prefer that trade over going with, the third best prospect in the Cardinals organization that we've never seen. But either philosophy you choose, you're probably going to end up losing, which is the overall point of this whole thing. Like at the end of the day, you have to keep your superstar trades, keep your superstar players. And maybe that Red Sox trade with Mookie Betts, maybe if Jeter Downs ends up working out, that could be one of those indicators like, okay, this is how you can do the trade where it works, because Verdugo was a guy who was a major league ready guy already at the time they acquired him, and they got back another top 75 prospect in Jeter Downs. But those are rare. Maybe the Chris Sale trade to the Red Sox, that's a better comparison of because the White Sox got back Moncada and they got Kopech, who are both major leaguers and playing pretty well. But overall, it's pretty lopsided for the team that gets a superstar player.
Yeah, I'm so many times it hangs over a general manager's head when they trade away a young superstar. I mean, when it becomes like when you think about like Hall of Famers who were toss-ins and deals. So Ryan Sandberg, was a toss-in in a trade involving the Phillies. Another Hall of Famer, Fergie Jenkins, was a toss-in as a young player. When you have situations like that, when you have a Paul Konerko who was a Dodger prospect become a superstar with the White Sox for as long as he was. The famous scene in Seinfeld when Frank Costanza screams at George Steinbrenner, "What the hell are you doing trading Jay Buhner for?" I mean, those deals hang over a team. And so the general managers don't want to be the one that is like, you trade away Buhner or you trade away, Kenny Lofton was an Astros prospect, and he was traded to the Indians for Eddie Taubensee, a catcher. At the time, that trade made sense. The Indians had an excess of catchers. The Astros had a ton of young outfielders. And they said, look, there's not a space for Kenny in this outfield. And we're not going to be starting Taubensee. Let's swap. On the surface, it actually looked like a smart trade when it happened. Kenny Lofton went on to be one of the best leadoff hitters, certainly the best leadoff hitter of his era. And Eddie Taubensee became a major league reserve catcher. So whenever there's a trade like that, it hangs over a general manager's head, and we become so general manager heavy these days, like that's sort of where the power is. And there's so much when you have a young player that could be under team control to surrender that. Jeff Bagwell being traded for Larry Anderson isn't going to happen again.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you bring up sometimes the overlook guys in the deal that ends up panning out, I feel like that's usually kind of true. It feels like the secondary and tertiary prospects that might be in the deal end up hitting more than the guys who are considered the blue chipper in a deal. Because I look at the D-backs when they traded away Zach Greinke, they got back 3 of the top 5 prospects in the Astros organization: Seth Beer, JB Berskakis, and they got back Corbin Martin. But there was a 4th player added in that deal who was just kind of a throw-in. You know who that was, Sully? That was Josh Rojas. And right now, he's the best player in that deal. He wasn't one of the top 5 prospects in the organization. He's like the 27th best prospect in the Astros organization. Right now, he's the best player from that deal.
And sometimes there's an Elton John song called Get Back Honky Cat where he says a change is going to do you good. And sometimes a change does a player good. If a player is blocked, if a player is in a system where I'm not going to get any playing time, and suddenly they relax, or maybe the change of scenery jolts them. You don't always know how a player is going to react, but when I used to obsess over Baseball America, I always fell hook, line, and sinker over any prospects that they hit 30 home runs in AA. That means they'll hit 50 in the majors. Like they projected all these players. And the Blue Jays were a factory of all these young outfielders that everybody thought was going to be the next Andre Dawson or Tim Raines. And they would just trade all of them. And people, oh my God, what a great factory of outfielders the Blue Jays had. It turns out most of them turned to be stiffs, but and again, I have to say this. If you make it to the major leagues, even for one game, you are an extraordinary talent. You're better than I will ever be at anything in my life. The gauntlet to get to the major leagues is so rough that even a bench player who gets in and bats 100 is better than anyone I'll ever meet in my life. I'm going to say that if everything is graded on a curve before anyone says, where's your stats? I get it. I'm a 50-year-old dude who should lose some weight. All right?
Okay. Yeah, Millard, I wouldn't agree with that, Sully. I wouldn't agree.
Millard, you've got no excuse. You're a young man.
Yeah, I mean, I work out every day, Sully. I try. But one of the reasons why I don't like to follow... Oh, look at... Oh, my God.
Look at that's my athletic greens right there. That's some Built Bars right there.
Yeah, for those audio listeners, we always gotta mention the audio listeners. If you go on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or Locked On Diamondbacks YouTube channel, Sully's biceps as big as my head, so I need to get back in the gym and work out some more. Because
that's how I podcast right there.
Oh, well, maybe you need to go back with the right arm. I don't know if the left arm's on the same level. Yeah, but one of the reasons I don't like
righty.
Yeah, that makes sense. But one of the reasons I don't like to talk about prospects as much as I got older is just because growing up as a Red Sox fan, like I was really locked in on all their top prospects. I used to go through the MLB.com top 30 prospects for organization, click on the Red Sox and just read all their scouting reports, the Henry Owens, the Anthony Renatos, the Bryce Brentzes, and read how these guys are going to be future all-stars. And guess what? None of them panned out. They all just ended up being busts. And Henry Owens was supposed to be the next number 2 starter for the Red Sox. That guy pitched like 50 innings and then was out of Major League Baseball.
Remember Trey Ball? Trey Ball was.
Oh my God! Was he a lefty in like the 7th?
Yeah, Trey Ball. And I thought, what a great name, Play Ball, Trey Ball.
Yeah, and those guys never
here he
panned
comes.
Out.
He's gonna be our lefty. He's gonna be like John Lester.
Jay Groom. Are we still waiting on Jay Groom? Was
yeah,
like
pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, so this is why prospects and just talking about it most of the time it's just wasting your breath. Like shout out Lindsey Crosby doing the prospect show because most of those guys are not even going to be in Major League Baseball probably.
I know, but there you go. We're here with Millard Thomas There you go. That's when you know I'm putting a break in. Is when you hear me say there you go. There you go.
Time to wrap it up, guys. There you go.
This is the Memorial Day episode. This is I've been saying for years that I believe that baseball has basically two checkpoints, and that is Memorial Day and the first day of August. And those are really the two times that you can take a good long look at your team and say, okay, what the hell are we? Now, I've told you if I ran baseball, and I don't, that no, I'm working on it.
Oh, okay.
I would have the waiver rules that you could block trades for the entire year for all 162 games, except for Memorial Day and the day after and August 1st. And I'd have no games played those days. And there were just all the teams are in like one place in like Tampa. And those are the days where there's no waiver wire rules and you could just make any deal you want. You could trade Mike Trout for a Subway sandwich if you want. You know, you could trade Ronald Acuna for some Athletic Greens, which, by the way, if you're looking to improve your gut health, go to Athletic Greens. But and that way you would have like a feeding frenzy of trades for about 24 hours and then boom, get back to the games. I do believe that would be a sensation if it would happen, but no one will listen to me. But right now, as we're recording this right now, you're seeing that there are some teams like the Yankees, despite the loss they had on Sunday afternoon. The Yankees have the best record in the game. The Yankees and the Dodgers have the two best records in the game. And the division leaders would be the Yankees, Minnesota, and Houston in the American League. The National League would have the Mets, as I predicted, the Brewers, as I predicted, the Dodgers, as I predicted. And now we have three wildcard teams. The three wildcard teams in the National League would be the San Diego Padres. Take that, Mr. Slap. The St. Louis Cardinals and Joc Pederson's San Francisco Giants. So those would be your three.
D-backs lurking.
D-backs are not that far back.
No, just got to stop playing the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're only 3 or 4 games out of a wild card spot. So but I'll get to that in a second. And the wild card teams in the American League would be Tampa Bay, Toronto, and believe it or not, the Angels.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's what I say: it's the first interesting checkpoint, and you just hinted at it. Now, most of the teams I just mentioned thought they were going to be contenders. They didn't think this was going to be a lost season. The Seattle Mariners, my pick for the AL West, are floundering. Even though they've won the last couple of won some games recently, they're several games under 500 and look really disappointing. But your Diamondbacks, even though they're hovering a few games below 500, but they're within striking distance. So when I say it's a checkpoint, it's like a gut checkpoint. If you're let's just take a random team, the Diamondbacks, and say, we're doing better than we thought we were. Now, it would not be smart to mortgage the farm to try to get the third wild card team. However, let's take a good long look at our team and a good long look at our farm and see what holes we can fill internally to improve the team and maybe improve it by a couple of games. And then take a look at, by the time we get to August to see if we're still hanging around here, should we be looking to make a deal? But I think for a team like the Diamondbacks, this is a first moment you go like, okay, we're probably not going to trade away veterans to scrap the season at this point. But what do we do to improve our team and maybe pick up a game here or there and turn this into a summer?
Yeah, and you say mortgaging your future. I mean, when I just look at these trades again, like I don't really know if you have to mortgage your future to get a really good player. I mean, you could just go out there and get the Eduardo Escobar type players, and that really doesn't cost you that much. I mean, when the D-back traded him last year, not like they got back a great return for Eduardo Escobar. So those all-star, fringe all-star type players, they're always, I don't know if they're always out there, but if you want to go out there and try and acquire one, I don't think it'll take you much from your team. I don't think you have to give up, your best prospect or anything like that. Even if you want to swing a superstar trade, I don't think the D-backs are in the market for a superstar, but we saw the Nolan Aronado teams like that, deals like that. So maybe if there's another disgruntled star out there, there's been rumors of the Juan Soto's floating around. Like, I don't know what it would take to get Juan Soto. I feel like that would take a major package to get him. But if you're the D-backs, I think you still have to wait to see how these next couple months play as we get closer to the trade deadlines, we approach it, because I still don't know if this team is going to be a buyer or a seller at the deadline. They're still probably more likely to be sellers, because if they could get off Mark Melancon, they might just do that just because he's been so pitiful for this team. And in the lineup, I mean, they might trade away some players in the lineup just because they have so many redundancies on their team, so many extra outfielders, and just too many guys playing similar positions. So they might try to trade away some players to free up some more key positions, because they're also going to have guys like Corbin Carroll coming up within the next year. Jordan Lawler might be 2 years away. So they got to start trying clearing some positions around their team so they can bring up those younger prospects. But right now, for a D-backs fan entering June, you got to feel pretty good. This is way better than what we would have ever expected entering, being this far into the season, 2 months in. This is way better than I would have expected for the D-backs. And playing all these teams outside the Dodgers, the D-backs have been really competitive. They just suck against the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers own the D-backs. So hopefully they could get back on track, because at the time I'll probably drop this pod probably Tuesday or Wednesday. So the D-backs would have already played Atlanta at that point. So hopefully they're doing well against Atlanta at the point of the time that people are listening to this pod.
Yeah, well, look at the D-backs are doing a lot better than I thought. I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm going to start. I'm going to be dropping a bonus episode of the Locked On MLB feed either on Tuesday or Wednesday, explaining the summer score. The summer score is what I tabulate each year, where I see I add a point. I have a point system for every day a team is in a playoff position after Memorial Day. Okay. It's basically saying your team owes you a summer. And so how much joy are you giving your fan base over the summer? And the end of May and June, each day you are in a playoff spot. When you wake up that morning and you check the standings, your team's in a playoff spot. In June, you get 1 point. If you wake up in July, each day you're in there, you get 2 points. You wake up in August, things are getting real. Every day you wake up, your team's in a playoff spot, you get 3 points. Ooh. In September, every day you wake up, from September to the end of the season, every day you wake up, and if it's September, your team's in a playoff spot. You're doing the math in your head. Each day in September is worth 4 points, but also each day in September, if your team's 1 game out or 1 or 1.5 games out of a playoff spot, you do get an extra 1 point. Because if you wake up in September, we're only 1 game out, then you're thinking, then the wheels are turning. And at the end of the year, you'll see that there's some teams have really big summer scores, even though they don't make it to the postseason. I'm looking at you last year's Padres and Mets. And sometimes you have very small summer scores and still made the postseason. I'm looking at you, St. Louis Cardinals. And so you can sort of look at it and say, did the Mets and the Padres fail? Yes, but they gave their fans a summer.
Hey, I'll take that. The D-backs are within 4 games of a wild card race. I'm taking that as a summer.
It's so funny at the end of the year when you look at it, it's like one team has a summer score of 1 for the entire year. That meant one day in June, they tied for a wild card spot and then sort of collapsed. So, but I'm going to be doing a tally of that, and check out my personal Twitter feed. You see it right there at Sully Baseball, where I'm doing a daily tally of that, plus Who Owns Baseball, which I've been doing from the start of the year, which is the best American League and National League hitter and pitcher for each day. On a winning team gets 1 point, and the best American National League hitter and pitcher from a team on a losing effort gets half a WOB. WOB stands for Who Owns Baseball. And at the end of the year, we tally up. And it's always interesting how the leader in WOB always kind of aligns with the leader of WAR. Just sort of goes, I know what I'm doing. Someone once complained about how I calculated WOB, and I said, well, you're free to do your own version of it. And you know what? The guy did. And he put his money where his mouth was. So if you don't like how I do it, go ahead and calculate on your own. We can compare it. But so it really is like WAR then. It varies from website to website. That's right. But, it's less violent. Wob
Oh,
is less violent than war. But you know what, Millard? You and I fist pump. We don't slap each other. When
yeah.
we have
Come on.
differences, and we've had differences, but we do
Respect.
not. We respect. We respect. But don't turn it off. And don't we got to do an early fist bump.
All
Early
right.
fist bump. Don't turn it off here. Millard Thomas, where can people listen to your podcast?
At Creator Thomas. Oh, well, you can listen. I guess. Well, follow me on Twitter at Creator Thomas 24 for my personal account, or look up Locked On Diamondbacks on both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle. We're on all podcast catchers, like Sully likes to say, and we're also on YouTube, Locked On Diamondbacks.
And you can follow me at Locked On MLB Pods for both Instagram and for Twitter. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Dealing with our fantasy baseball issues much more diplomatically than Tommy Pham and Joc Pederson did with their fantasy football. This has been the Locked On MLB, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover for the 30th day of May. Happy Memorial Day, and saluting everyone who gave their all for our country on this day. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. That's Millard Thomas. Thanks so much.